Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching Today I Found Out, and in the video today, the truth about elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary, my dear Watson, sometimes quoted as elementary, dear Watson, is one of those phrases that everybody knows the character of Sherlock Holmes said. You know, just like everyone knows that Kirk said, beam me up, Scotty, and Darth Vader said, Luke, I am your father. The thing is that none of those characters ever said any of those things. They said things that were similar, sure, but they never actually said those exact words, despite the fact that most think they did. Like Luke, I am your father, which was actually, no, I am your father, Holmes never said elementary, my dear Watson in any of the original 56 short stories or 4 novels starring the character. The closest he comes is in The Adventure of the Crooked Man. In this story, Holmes uses both the word elementary and the phrase my dear Watson in somewhat close proximity. The two, however, are not uttered together. I have the advantage of knowing your habits, my dear Watson, said he. When your round is a short one, you walk, and when it is a long one, you use a hansom. As I perceive that your boots, although used, are by no means dirty, I cannot doubt that you are at present busy enough to justify the hansom. Excellent, I cried. Elementary, said he. Beyond that, there are only 7 other instances of the words elementary being uttered in the official Sherlock Holmes works, though he does say my dear Watson numerous times, with the phrase appearing in about 2/3 of the stories. It's noted by Sherlockian.net, one of the foremost sources on everything to do with Sherlock Holmes, that although Holmes uses the oft misquoted phrase, elementary my dear Watson, he does use the phrase exactly my dear Watson in 3 different stories. So where did the phrase elementary my dear Watson come from? Well, the first known, or at least recorded use of the phrase was in the 1915 novel Smith Journalist, written by P.G. Wodehouse. We should point out that this book in no way, shape or form stars Sherlock Holmes. In fact, the Sherlock Holmes stories were still being published at this point. We should also point out that though Smith Journalist was published in 1915, it was a serial before that, putting the date of the first known usage of the phrase as 1909. The exact first known instance of the elementary my dear Watson phrase appears in the work as follows. I fancy, said Smith, that this is one of those moments when it is necessary for me to unlimber my Sherlock Holmes system. As thus, if the rent collector had been there, it is certain, I think, that Comrade Spaghetti, or whatever you said his name was, wouldn't have been. That is to say, if the rent collector had called and found no money waiting for him, surely Comrade Spaghetti would have been out in the cold night instead of under his own roof tree. Do you follow me, Comrade Maloney? That's right, said Billy Windsor. Of course. Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary, murmured Smith. Wodehouse's work was noted to have taken obvious cues from Doyle's, as you probably guessed from the fact that Wodehouse ended up writing one of the most enduring quotes for a character that he didn't create. So when was the first time someone playing Sherlock Holmes actually said this? This isn't completely clear. That said, the first well-documented actor playing Sherlock Holmes to use this phrase was one Clive Brook in the 1929 film The Return of Sherlock Holmes. It is also often suggested that it was perhaps the stage actor William Gillette in 1899 who was really first, preceding not only Clive Brook's 1929 film, but also the P.G. Wodehouse serials that we just quoted. Though this could potentially be true, evidence that has survived to today points to Gillette using a slight variation on the phrase in one of his stage productions. This production, aptly called Sherlock Holmes, a drama in 4 acts, was written in part by Gillette in 1899. It features a line that read as follows: Elementary, my dear fellow, ho, elementary. This is noted as being a modified version of the exactly my dear Watson line Doyle used in his own work several years earlier, and the line used by Brooks 30 years later is noted to be a natural evolution of Gillette's own line. It should be noted here that William Gillette is known to have invented or popularized a number of other common Sherlock Holmes mannerisms, most notably his deerstalker hat and crooked pipe, the latter of which was believed to have been used by Gillette to make his face easier to see on stage. In any event, to sum up, elementary my dear Watson was never once uttered in the accepted canon of Sherlock Holmes. The line as we know it is a modified version of a similar line used in an earlier Sherlock Holmes story. In the end, the story of how it came to be is so convoluted it's actually kind of fitting for a Sherlock Holmes fact. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos just like this every day of the week. I'd also like to take this moment to thank our patrons on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting us, keeping this channel as ad-free as possible, and also getting some great perks in return, please do consider heading over to patreon.com/TodayIFoundOut. And as always, thank you for watching.